So yeah, so as was just noted, our panel today is about what's exciting and what kind of business models investors are in the energy sector are looking for. I am your moderator today. My name is Tanya Horowitz, and I'm your partner at Butterfly Ventures, as was mentioned. We are the leading seed stage deep tech investor in the Nordics. And with me today are two wonderful panelists. We have Terhi Vapola, who some of you might have just heard from. She's a SVP at Helen Ventures, and she's also the leader and founder of Helen Ventures. It's the investment arm of the Finnish energy company Helen Ltd, where she's looking to fund the most innovative and transformative European startups in the energy, e-mobility, circular economy, decarbonization, and digital solution sectors. And then we're also joined by Gina Domanig, and she's a managing partner of Emerald Technology Ventures. And I'll give you a little background on her. It's quite lengthy because she's quite astute, but in 2000, she founded the business as the first independent clean tech venture capital fund in Europe. She currently serves on the boards for Geo Digital International, Swear Power Systems, and Takadu Inc. In addition to Emerald activities, Gina serves on the board of directors of Die Moblar, Solar Pack, Corporation Technologies, uBlocks AG, and Basel Agency for Sustainable Energy Foundation. She also serves on the advisory boards of the Institute of the Environment of the University of Minnesota and CE2, as well as on the advisory committee of Prime Impact Fund. She has over 25 years of international experience, including banking, M&A, strategic development, and of course, VC. Prior to starting Emerald, she was a senior vice president at Sulzer, a Swiss multinational responsible for strategic planning and M&A. She holds a bachelor's degree in finance from Arizona State University, as well as MBAs from Thunderbird in Arizona and Escade in Barcelona. She's fluent in English, German, and Spanish. Okay, guys, so let's get to the fun stuff. First of all, I'd like to hear from both of you. Terhi, maybe we start with you. Could you tell us a little bit about Helen Ventures and maybe just take a minute or two to tell the audience what your investment mandate looks like?
So for Helen Ventures, we look at especially the energy sector. So this is our sweet spot. And we look at it quite broadly. So we are especially interested in the digital tech. We look at the different areas like e-mobility, circular economy when it's linked into the energy sector. Then, of course, anything to do with the transformation of the energy sector, as I described in the keynote. So looking at the areas of smart energy and energy efficiency and demand response. So solutions core to the change of the transformation of the energy sector. And basically any digital tech which can be applied into this sector is of interest to us.
Excellent, excellent. And Gina, love to hear from you.
Great. Hi, everyone. Yeah, so I'll make it a bit shorter than my CV, but we've been investing in industrial technology for the past 20 years. So I started the business in 2000. We invest in industrial tech, meaning primarily energy. Actually, 50% of what we do is in the energy space, but we also include the water sector, advanced materials, and of course, industrial IT. Crosses over many application areas. Geographically, we have traditionally been investing in North America, Europe, and Israel. We just a couple of years ago opened up our office in Singapore. So now we have a reach into Singapore as well. So we're about 30 people within our team. And I think probably what's interesting is that we work primarily with corporations. So usually our investors are large energy or industrial technology corporations who are really looking for a window on technology. So looking to engage with startups, they may, kind of have this open innovation program. And now we're actually launching an energy-focused fund as well, called the Energy Transformation Alliance. Because what we find on the energy space is that particularly there's a lot of utilities out there who are not the large utilities. They don't have huge corporate venturing activities, so they can't necessarily hire a team of 20 people and jump out and start investing in startups. So we've created a model where we're having a fund, but we're also working together with the smaller and medium-sized utilities to give them access to innovation in this area as well, to accelerate the energy transition, not just with the largest utilities, but also with the small and medium-sized utilities globally.
Excellent. Thank you, Gina. So I'll just give like one little snippet about Butterfly, but as I mentioned, Butterfly is the leading seed stage deep tech investor in the Nordics. We have over 84 companies and 3 funds, and are raising currently fund 4 to be able to continue investing in great science-based deep tech teams across the Nordics and the Baltics, which is our geographical focus. We are value-added investors, and we invest quite early in the seed stage, but can also follow on through Series A. So what I thought I'd do, Terhi and Gina, let's have a conversation about the digital transformation in the energy sector. You know, how has the market developed from being, you know, primarily heavily hardware focused, right, to the use of data-driven platforms, and how does that translate to a successful business model for a startup, for example? Who would like to go first? Terhi, do you want to tackle that?
Okay, I'll start. So for my perspective, the biggest change what is happening is that having this capability of being able to influence the sector with the capabilities which don't require huge capital investments. So when we look at the elements like you bring in different kinds of renewables into the mix, being able to optimize, being able to monitor, being able to analyze what happens there, being able to balance, being able to aggregate. So there are a lot of things which are very fruitful for the digital tech to settle. And in terms of the business models, so I see that we're moving out of the selling boxes or selling some plants into looking at solutions where we can be able to apply B2B SaaS or B2B2C service models into the market. So being able to do that changes the way we can have and what kind of business models we can have for the market.
Excellent. Gina, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I would agree completely. I mean, a lot of the digital technologies are enabling things that weren't possible in the past, or perhaps were not economic in the past. That's definitely one of the big changes that we see. You know, people are not investing or purchasing a software for the software of itself, but it's what it enables in their overall system. And also the business models kind of creeping in from other sectors into our sector. I would just give one caveat that it's incredible now that every startup thinks that they can sell whatever it is they want to sell as a service. So you're getting batteries as a service, and I was talking to kind of wind turbines as a service. You're thinking, okay, stop, because that's not capital light, right? You're just shifting the capital intensity to somebody else within the value system or the value chain rather. But no, there are lots of really interesting business models that are being created, also because of the blurred lines. Within you used to have, these guys generated power, these guys transmitted power, these guys consumed power. And the oil and gas guys were out there doing another kind of power, right? So now there's lots of blurred lines, right? And the technology is actually making that possible. So I think that it's also causing the incumbents to be also a little bit quicker on their feet and to think about, okay, if I don't stay ahead of the curve here, somebody else is going to eat my lunch. So.
And what would you say? So Gina, when do you guys normally invest? Is it once a company's at what stage? And what would you recommend to the startups that are listening? In terms of how to look at that business model and when to come to you.
Right. Well, I have a new favorite saying. It's sales solves everything, right? So the company has sales, a lot of other things fall into place, right? And to be quite honest, I mean, we started 20 years ago. We've made lots of mistakes over the years and stuff. And to tell you the truth, we used to invest earlier stage. And that was a lot of fun, but it was financially not so much fun. And so now we've moved a little bit later stage. So what we like to say is we like a company to have 3 true commercial customers. And it's not the financial contribution that those 3 customers bring. It's actually the proof to me as an investor that the management team has figured it out, right? They understand what business model works. They understand the pricing. They understand who their customers could be. They understand how to approach them, right? Because what we were doing, I would say in the early years, it was almost a disservice to these startups because, we're syndicating a round of 10 million, giving 10 million to a company. And it almost inhibited that management team from hearing what the market was saying to them, right? And the management team would also often say, it's just taking longer, it's just taking longer. And we're like, no, it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
You have to pivot. So I definitely, the world needs the earlier stage investors. We need there to be earlier stage investors. But from Emerald's point of view, we invest once they have some commercial traction.
Got it. That makes sense. Makes sense. And Terhi, do you want to talk a little bit about that from Helen Ventures perspective?
And so for us, we focus on a little bit earlier phase. So we can go as early as seed, the sweet spot probably being in the Series A. We can go in the Series B as well, and looking at the syndication. But I do agree that the biggest issue is the sales. So being able to provide that there is attraction, somebody wants to pay for it, and the business model seems to be clear, so that it's not just the tech, but it's all about what it can do to the market. And the capabilities of what it demonstrates into the market. So that's crucial.
Interesting. And when you look at a startup as a potential investment, is it a requirement that it's strategic to Helen, or is it more of a financial combination? Or because this VC is a bit, it's a bit different, obviously, animal than maybe Gina or Butterfly, for example.
In my own background, I come from the financial side, so I couldn't believe that there is a strategic investment which doesn't work out, So looking at the capabilities to add the strategic value, you need to be able to demonstrate something which is of worth to people to buy. So that's crucial. So you can't go around it. I think in the energy sector, though, so one reason why I think players like ourselves are quite useful for the startups is because the market is so, how would you say, they have like certain ways of doing things. So understanding the insights of the market and being able to connect into the players in the market is crucial, because you need to have the references, and you need to have understanding of how things are done in the industry, so that you can sell your new thing, so it fits in. So it's also very, very important that there is this kind of a proof point that is actually being demanded for, and it can actually solve things.
Excellent. So maybe what I'd like to kind of dive into now is the deal flow you're seeing today. Obviously, we're going through a transformative, phase today. And in our own deal flow, I mean, I'm seeing used to be a lot of hardware cases, but now I'm seeing more software, AI driven, cases, even in the deep tech field, which we're in, and which is inclusive, of course, of energy related. So maybe you guys could talk a little bit about what you're seeing in your deal flow. Maybe even if you want to throw out an example from your portfolio of maybe, would be representative of what we're seeing today further in the energy, digital energy field. Terhi, do you want to go first?
I'll go first. So looking at what we see a lot, we do see a lot also in the fundamental tech, more to do with how you produce new types of energy forms. So you have very heavy tech as well, which needs funding. So looking at some capabilities like small nuclear reactors, or you look at the different like wave energy or kite energy, or this kind of things which are revolutionary to the industry. So you do see those. They do require a little bit different player than what we are. But we do see that happening, and that kind of company is being formed. But what we see more and more is really to look at the capabilities of the big data analytics and AI. So looking at the ways of using that to manage and optimize and predict and so forth. So for different, it's like app economy in one of the earlier years, you know. So looking at the different AI for different use cases. So those you see a lot. And I think now is the right time to do that kind of things.
Yeah, absolutely. And Gina.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's obviously lots of deal flow on the industrial IT side. But I was just reflecting, I think the last 3 investments we've made were not primarily software deals, right? Oh. They're hardware coupled with software. Software which actually enables them to be integrated into the system or to be more economical. So it's really using software to break down those barriers, if you like. But there's still a hardware component to it, and excuse me. And you know, as far as we're concerned, the energy system still needs hardware. That's how the energy is going to be generated. It's not going to be generated from software. So there is kind of a good that needs to be produced, right? It needs to be transported. But you know, they're definitely the digitization is super important. Decarbonization is also still really important. Decentralization is important. There's lots of talk right now about green molecules. That's obviously very important, and electrification. The last 2 deals we did were in of the last 3 deals, 2 of them were in electrification. One more on the automotive side, and the other one in marine electrification. So we're thrilled about digitization, but it's not necessarily the end in itself to us. It's often a means to another end. So like in the EV charging, there's a lot of software, a lot of very interesting software investment opportunities that we review, but we wouldn't necessarily classify them as a software deal. We would classify them more as far as what are they enabling or what's the application area, right?
Exactly. And that's, you know, I definitely second that, because at Butterfly, we've always invested, we were primarily hardcore hardware and software investors when we first started out. But it's the enablement, as you mentioned, that the software enables, you know, so we like to say we invested between the digital and physical worlds, that middle ground basically area. So look, I think we're about up on our time, ladies, unfortunately. If there's any last thoughts you would like to, for any of the startups that may be joining us online, you'd like to give them a last thought, you know, what to talk about when, you know, they're speaking with investors, or any words of wisdom would be great.
Well, I would say, you know, it's really important that these companies get traction. And there are a lot of corporates out there, utilities and whatnot, who are very keen to work with the startups. So the startups can also, when they're even if they're too early stage for someone like us, they can still ask us, you know, do you know somebody? Can you put us in touch with somebody? Because we often track these startups for sometimes years before we actually invest. So I would definitely say, you know, get that traction.
Great. Terhi, any last words of wisdom?
I completely agree. So looking at the ways of entering into the market and get the traction, that's the most important thing.
Yeah, great. Well, Terhi, Gina, thank you so much for being part of this today, and I hope the audience has had a good informative session on digital energy. So thank you, ladies.
Thank
you everybody for attending.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.